Hi, I'm Krista Cloutier from The Working Artist. Last week I hosted nearly 100 artists from around the world on a virtual meeting that we called the Artist Circle. It was really powerful, so I wanted to share it with you. Now on this call, before I opened it up to the artists' questions and comments about this extraordinary time that we all find ourselves living through, I spoke for a few minutes about what's going on in the world. Because we are living through some huge challenges right now. And when you consider that it's not just you, it's not just your town, it's not just your country, but it's everybody in the whole world, kind of blows your mind. I don't know how that makes you feel, but it gives me comfort to know that I'm not alone in these feelings of fear and these emotions that are kind of all over the place. For the first time in history, we're all in this together. Human beings on planet Earth. That can be a little abstract to think about, so I wanted to focus on our little corner of planet Earth right now. The Artist Corner. The Artist Circle. This call was a time to gather and ask questions, to discuss ideas, and to share stories, to find our way forward as a community. I believe that we can't go back to normal again. Right now, no one on planet Earth knows what the future will look like. So it's time for us to create it, and that starts with you and me. Let's look forward while asking, how can I make this unknown future even better than my past? To help you see that, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for a minute and answer 3 questions. You ready? Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. My first question is, what might be possible for planet Earth after the COVID crisis has passed? For myself, I'm seeing the massive changes that are taking place in the environment and the ways that people are coming together in spite of being apart. But what do you see? What's possible for planet Earth next? I'll give you a minute. Okay, keep your eyes closed. Here's your next question. What's possible for art next? Consider any aspect of art that you want. Art making, institutions, education, business, whatever's most relevant to you. What's possible for art after this? And note that I said possible, so only contemplate the positives. Okay, last question. Keep your eyes closed. What's possible for you? The future has not been written. It's completely unknown at this point. And given the fact that the universe is, infinite, what's possible for you after this crisis has passed? What possibilities exist? Thank you. You can open your eyes now. I hope that you continue to ask yourself these questions, especially when you find yourself feeling depressed or anxious, or, like me, sobbing your eyes out while clutching a bottle of wine. I'm kidding, kind of. But I have found that these questions empower me, while the anxious thoughts don't serve me at all. I've been corresponding with a lot of artists lately, and they tell me that they started out their self-isolation with excitement, ready to focus on work and tasks and projects. But now they're reporting that the fun is over. They're feeling stuck. They're feeling anxious. I wondered if you felt that way. Raise your hand if you do. I do. One thing I've been recommending is to give your day some structure, because those days where we just go in circles often make us feel even more anxious and stuck. It's time to move forward. It can be baby steps, but it's time to move toward the next chapter of planet Earth, of art, the next chapter of you. What routine can you create in the structure of your day to take a step forward? For me, for example, I started my quarantine with grand plans to write a book. And then, I got busy. And then, I got bored. And then I got guilty and I got scared. But now I'm starting to move forward again. Maybe I can do it with less harsh expectations this time. Maybe I could even do it with some joy. It's about baby steps for me. So what I'm suggesting, if you're not already, is to start planting the seeds for the next chapter now. There's so much happening in the world at this moment that we cannot control. So let's place our attention and our intention on those things that we can control. What's possible for you in the next chapter of your life? All right, I'm going to let you listen to the call now. I just wanted to say one more thing. Within the call, I reference a flash sale that I was holding for the Working Artist Masterclass. I had slashed the price of the course from $444 to $177. Now the sale was going to end, but since I'm sharing this video after, I decided to extend it and continue to honor the sale price. You can visit my website at theworkingartist.com if you're interested. Right now, enjoy the call. It really was extraordinary. Stay well.
Okay, I want to get to your questions and comments. I've got a bunch of posted questions too. If you want to raise your hand and talk with me, it's *6 on your dial pad if you want to talk. And let me see where is... Okay, no one's raised their hand yet. So I'm going to start reading... Oh, wait, nope, I've got a raised hand. Here we go. It's Steve. Hey, Steve.
Hi, Krista. Thanks for inviting me. It's Steve Sumner.
Nice to talk to you, Steve.
I was just thinking about your questions, and for me, I was thinking that obviously a lot of galleries and things have gone online, and that's where I see a lot of art making connections globally a lot more readily than they did in the past. So I just wondered what you thought, whether you'd seen other artists moving that way in this period.
Yeah, the online sales have just really taken off since the pandemic has hit. I talked to the marketing director of Fine Art America, and he said they're having their biggest sales ever. So really, a lot is moving online. But of course, this is a bubble. You know, we don't know what's going to happen after this. Are people going to be just sick of their computers and sick of being at home and desperate to go out and be with real people again? Yeah. We don't know. We just don't know. Okay. But I think having an online presence is going to be important.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Steve. Anything else?
Well, it was all really about, your three questions to me. I just came up with the answers that were connectedness and greater access for people who probably sometimes are afraid to go into gallery spaces. They think, oh, I don't understand art. And then this being at home and being at, people like the Tate Gallery opening up, people can sort of have virtual tours from their own home where they feel safe because they're unsure about going into these spaces. So maybe it's opening up art for a lot of people that previously may have been slightly afraid,
That's a wonderful thought. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I think we're all sick of looking at our same four walls.
Yeah. And I noticed one or two online companies are allowing you to sort of paste images into a virtual gallery space and see what they might look like, or paste them into your own lounge space at home or wherever. So you can make a picture and then you can post pieces of art from online sales to see what it would look like in your home.
Cool.
So it's very virtual, the whole feeling seems to be going virtual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Hi, who's this?
Hello.
Hi.
This is Janet Holmes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. Listen, I have taken my art in a different way. Instead of for sale, I have decided I'm thinking of my neighbors and my friends more and sending them little homemade cards to encourage them to stay strong during this time of uncertainty.
Oh, that's a beautiful gesture. I love that.
I found that I've come up with this different scriptures from the Bible as well that helps to encourage. And nature itself, you look at the animals around us, they're not having a panic over this. And so we use these animals, like the lion. He's big and strong, but you don't see him running around like a crazy person.
I would hope not.
Yeah, and so, we people decide, take things serious, but sometimes a little too serious. It's going to happen whether we can stop it or not. So we need to do things to keep ourselves thinking on the positive side.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that too.
And
thank you.
So I use my artwork to encourage them to stay on a happy side and stay strong that way.
As a really beautiful gesture, and I'm sure they really appreciate it.
And then I'll go back to the other later.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Janet.
That's okay.
Take care. Hi, is this Rick?
Oh, hi. How are you?
Good. Thanks, Rick.
No real question. Just figured I'd dial in and see what was going on.
Yeah, oh, great. So I'm glad you tuned in. This is your first call?
Yes.
Okay. And you're an artist?
Yeah, and we've exchanged some email over the last month or so. And I guess one of the suggestions that I have, and some things I've done, is I've got some paintings that I put up on my website every once in a while with a reference to what's going on through the virus, and use the paintings as ways of maybe bringing some restful and peaceful times to people who might be under stress because of this.
That's great. That's great. I know I often turn to look at art to meditate on something beautiful during when I have to step away from the news, for example.
Are other people doing this around the world?
Doing what
sharing
exactly?
Art, using it.
Well, it sounded like the caller before, Janet, was making art for her neighbors. So I don't know. I don't know how many other people are doing that, but there's two of you in a row, so that's kind of a good sign. And why not? Let's make and share and create.
Right.
That's the positive energy we need to put forward. Wow. Thanks, Rick. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Hi, is this Jeffrey?
Yeah, hi, Krista. This is Jeff in Colorado. How are you?
Well, how are you, Jeff?
Awesome. So I had a couple comments on the question. Yeah. So, I've got a few artist friends of mine that I have a lot of fun with and I interact with quite a bit. But some of the stuff that we came up with that's been really good is, most of us, half of us live in kind of the rural areas, and we've just been getting out in nature a lot more and like doing exercise, which has been very positive for our emotional support and spiritual support. And then the second thing is just to exercise, and then because that's a big de-stressor. Cutting back on the news because the news is like crazy these days. So
yes.
But not meditate on it. And then, but for me, I've been just really focusing. I feel actually a lot less stressed now than I did a few months ago because I totally love the working artist course. It made a ginormous difference for me, but in some ways I kind of felt overwhelmed because I went through it in great detail, and I have these long lists of things to do. And so what I'm doing during this period is I'm working through my list, and I'm really, really enjoying it and having a lot of fun.
Wonderful.
So that's what I'm doing with my time. But the question I had is, we had a call, and I'm redoing all my titles, and that's been a challenge. And so I did titling my artwork, titling my photographs.
Mm-hmm.
But here's one thing that I noticed is going out, and I did more research on the web after we talked, and I tend to live, very present, and I experience the full range of emotions. So, happy, sad, melancholy, I can get creeped out. And what I noticed on some people have said, you really want to keep kind of light on your titles, and others are like, no, you really have to convey what you're really experiencing. And so what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it depends on the imagery and it depends on the audience. Because we've worked together one-on-one as well, I'm familiar with your imagery, and your work is very fantastic in terms of it's bigger than life. So I wouldn't be afraid in your titles to, it doesn't have to be doom and gloom heavy, but I wouldn't be afraid to be very poetic or use big words. I wouldn't go for anything cute or pretty for your work.
And okay, so that's what I'm not, because some of the images I shot, I like to be fully present when I'm shooting,
mm-hmm.
and it's all in nature. You've seen them, but nature. But I go into some of these really creepy ghost towns out west, and then and if it's a little bit windy, and you hear the tin roofs rattling, which is creepy, and you'll have bats flying out of some of the buildings, and I really just completely lean into that and create the imagery based on what I'm actually feeling. So if it's a beautiful, moonlit night and the Milky Way is out, it'll be completely different than if it's cloudy and windy with a little bit of rain spitting. It's gonna, it's on the creepier side. So,
mm-hmm.
so that's fine. I got it. I understand. I appreciate your input.
Sure. Thanks for the question.
You're welcome.
Hi, is this Linda?
Yes. Can you hear me okay? I haven't done this before.
I can hear you great.
Oh, okay. All right. For me, art is about seeing everything in a very small thing. That includes all the full range of emotions, like the Dutch painters, they had those paintings, those mural paintings with, I'm nervous, with the beautiful flowers, but also death and for me, what I'm painting is just pictures of very close-ups of really ancient rocks that things have happened to them, horrible, unimaginably cataclysmic things, but they're still there, and they're more beautiful because of the things that have happened to them. And this is a time for me when I need to go back and start over, to dump all the things I've done 20 years before and to see where I am now and to do the small things that have everything I've done in them. Now, other people might not be able to see that, but I think that when people look at art, at least when I look at art, I sense a lot more than than I can explain. And looking at art is a healing experience. I see it as a religious, not a formal religion, but a spiritual experience. Like when I go into a museum and I look at something that is really great, I step away from it and the whole world is different a little bit for a while. I'm different a lot. And that I think is what we can do as artists, is to get people to a place that's beyond any temporary experience that we're having, and by getting them into the moment and creating something that's whole and beautiful.
I love that. And I know exactly what you mean about going into a gallery or museum and seeing something that really rocks your world, and you come out and it just feels like the world is in Technicolor now. You just see everything differently.
Yeah, it happens with movies and poems and books sometimes too.
Music, plays, all the arts, for sure. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, before I get to the next raised hand, I'm going to read one of the posted questions. Lily asked if realism and hyperrealism are back in vogue yet. And I thought that was an interesting question because it's an example of how the world has changed. Not so long ago, it was the galleries and museums who were the tastemakers and gatekeepers of what was in vogue in art. But with the advent of the internet and the democratization of the art world, the old rules have really been broken. If you have a niche, you can find an audience. It doesn't matter if Pace Gallery or Gagosian or White Cube or any of the big museums are showing art that's realist in style. There are literally millions of people who are interested in realist art. Your job is to find them and connect with them. And that's the other thing about the new art market. A lot of people used to be afraid to buy art because, let's face it, gallerists can be really snooty. I think one of our callers was referring to this same thing. And I've walked into art galleries where the staff made me feel like crap just because they didn't think I was a potential client. And that's something that's really changed with online galleries and with artists taking control of their own sales through pop-up shops and open studio events and art fairs. The average guy can now buy art without feeling like he has to have a PhD in critical history to earn the right to walk into a gallery. This has really opened up the market a lot. So whatever your niche is, you can find people who are interested in that. And thank you for your question, Lily. All right, I'm going to go to the next raised hand here. It looks like it's Nick. Hey, Nick.
Hi there, Krista. Good to hear your voice. I want you to know that in this world that we're living in right now, it's so wonderful to get your video messages, and it's just great. I mean, in front of your little cottage, in the basement or wherever you were the last time. I mean, it's fantastic. It's just great. I'm still inhaling.
Good.
And it's a strange process because I'm not particularly active right now, and I feel I should be, but I don't feel there's any way to be in a certain sense. I mean, in terms of taking pictures, literally taking photographs. I'm kind of locked in at the moment. So it's I've fallen into a rut, I suppose, that all people fall into at some point. 2 years ago, I met a fellow who had just retired, and he started taking photographs, and I was just blown away by his photographs. And I was supporting him and encouraging him, and the sheer volume of his work is just extraordinary, and really, I think, really good work. But I'm not that person, I don't do that, and I've sort of fallen into the rut of comparison here. I think I think my photography is a lot slower, a lot more thoughtful. Not to say that it's better, but different, And so while I'm inhaling, I'm sort of going down the slope a little bit. At the same time, the stuff that I'm inhaling, all this wonderful biographies of photographers and stuff like that, is really nourishing and fills up the vessel somewhat. So I don't know that I have a question. It's just
well, I have some thoughts on what you said.
Okay.
You use the word should.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I hear that word, it kind of raises my hackles. Every time I hear myself use it, because I'm like, yeah, every time I use that word, I don't know. I want to change should to could.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're a photographer. I know you like to go out on the street and photograph, or be in a theater and photograph, and that's your thing, and that's what you've been interested. But maybe you could give yourself a little project in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could look at something very small instead of something very big. Instead of looking at the world outside, look at the world inside.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could do some work that's more metaphorical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying
no,
you could.
I understand.
And, maybe as you're reading about these photographers, maybe you could give yourself a little assignment based on each one of them. And you were talking about this photographer who photographs all the time, and my mind went to Gary Winogrand.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big photographer in the 50s, 60s, 70s, I believe.
Yes.
I am not a fan of Gary Winogrand. But Gary Winogrand, he couldn't stop shooting. He almost had a problem. And if you ever look at his contact sheet, he literally just kept pushing the shutter. So, I mean, it was like kind of, it would be crazy if he couldn't get some good shots. But, I mean, that's just one example of someone who's really prolific. But is that a good thing?
Right.
If he's just shooting, and driving all of his subjects nuts too? Or is someone who's more thoughtful? It's a different kind of way of working. But maybe you could play with some small projects that don't have to be anything, but just as a way to explore your own psyche and your own, what you're learning about.
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because in the last 2 weeks I took 3 really great photographs.
Fantastic.
But again, it's not the volume. It's, I don't know. It's just hard to be in the presence of that, the velocity of someone else's work when you have a different pace.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everything you said, and I will look at could instead of should.
Okay. Take care, Nick.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Sure. Danielle, hi.
Hi, Krista. It's Danielle in New York.
Lovely to hear from you.
I'm always so pleased to see your walks. I like to fantasize that I'm out there, open, not hearing airplanes, living up here by the airport.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
My head.
Great.
I liked your questions, your 3 questions. As I said, one of the things I am doing is I switched gears and trying to teach myself portraiture as a painter.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I've been doing to combat sadness, depression, trying to stay in the moment, because no matter what you do, sometimes there's things that always just, it's something is going to get to you somewhere along the line, because all of our situations are different, even though we're all locked in. So I've actually started painting pictures of people in my life, like especially my family and their pets and animals I knew that make me happy in the current moment. Maybe I miss them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now doing that. Plus, I'm also doing something I didn't realize what I was doing at first, but I really enjoyed it, and I can't paint fast enough to but I'm also just painting pictures of. They could be a person I know or a famous person or whatever, and then just adding a story to it.
Cool.
Creating a little story around it and making a little film out of it, with these little things you can do with your phones and stuff right now, and it's just it amuses me, and it seems to amuse other people around me that are seeing them. So, that's enjoyable. So I'm learning things and just doing things that resources I have right in front of me. I can't focus on the future because I couldn't focus on the future to begin with before this. All the things that have been going on with me, so I just try and stay in the here and now. So so
that's good, because I think that's one thing that this virus is teaching all of us. We've always been told to live in the moment, live in the moment. Now we have no choice. We have to live in the moment. And some of us face to face with the moment can't look at it, or realizing that we don't know how to look at the moment. But that's where the power is. It's not in the future, because that's just a fantasy anyway.
Exactly. Anything can happen at any time, and that's not being a Debbie Downer. That's just reality. We're all here early anyway,
Right.
So to combat my sadness or of not being able to see my mom and little Eli, who's a dog, and I'm painting those pictures. I'm connecting me better it's connecting me as, I guess, emotionally as an artist.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, that's the skinny there.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And I love to see your stuff on social media.
So, thank you for everything, and keep up those great walks and those stories, because you have me laughing, and I just enjoy them.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks for checking in, too.
Absolutely. Take care, Krista.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, good, I guess, afternoon, I suppose, depending where you're at, I guess.
Evening for me.
Actually, this whole shutdown thing actually has worked out better for me in some regards. I mean, my non-art job is considered essential, so I'm still working a regular 40-some hours a week. But because of all this, our shifts have all changed. They're spreading us out so that there's fewer of us in the department at any given time. And the hard thing I'm having is that for all but one day a week, I'm doing a 12-hour shift. And so until I get to my long weekend off, it's very hard for me to continue momentum, because basically I have time to go to work, come home, eat, and crash, and lather, rinse, repeat, I guess. So I am, trying to come up with ideas of something to help me keep the momentum going, so that I don't feel so rushed when I do finally have the day off.
Right. Maybe I can help you look at your language and the way you're looking at it. Momentum. I think when you work so hard, you come home and you just feel wrung out. You know what I mean? And then you're going to try to squeeze the last few drops out of yourself so you can keep that momentum. But maybe you can compartmentalize. So when you have your time off, if you can approach your art as something that's feeding you, not one more thing you have to do or squeeze into a day. Does that make sense?
Right. And that's how I'm trying to treat it, because at least, especially on the days that I can't do it numerous hours at a time, normally I break it up with putzing in the yard or taking the dog for a walk, or, which she's enjoying all the extra long walks.
I'm sure every pet in the world is really happy right now.
But it's, I'm trying to, it was when I was doing my normal 8 and 10 hour shifts, it was easier because I could still say I got a 2-hour block before I have to go to bed that I can prime a canvas, or I can varnish something, or do some sketching out of what I want to work on. And that has evaporated. And so then when I get to either my short weekend or my long weekend, at least one day there is spent catching up on emails like yours,
right?
And catching up on just the basic stuff that has to get done, like getting preparing papers for canvas and charcoal or whatever. And then I don't feel like I'm getting as far along as I should on the projects that I've been preparing for. And it's I don't say it's frustrating, because it's not. It's just what I end up doing is I end up having things that don't get finished, because I have to drop it off for several days, and then when I get back to it, I look at it and go, what was I thinking? Where was I? And I don't need more unfinished stuff. I already have a closet full. I really don't need more.
It's interesting. You said I didn't get as far as I should. There's that word "should" again.
That's a bad choice of words, I guess. But
I think during this time particularly, we all have these shoulds. It's like, I had this idea, I should write a book during this time. And again, it's could. Maybe you didn't get as far as you could before you were working 12-hour shifts, but you can maybe use this time to be looking at some books of other artists, at the end of the day, to maybe feed yourself a little bit, because it sounds like you're expecting yourself to deliver a lot, and maybe you need to feed your creativity a little bit during this time.
Yeah, and I'm trying to fit in just playtime rather than
good
serious, and trying to focus more on sketching and trying to pick up a new medium, just something that there's no preconceived idea that this is going to amount to anything serious. That if it looks good and I hang it on the wall, fine. If it doesn't, I can always paint over it. And
Exactly. Yeah, I think being gentle with yourself and being patient. We're not going to be able to put things out like we used to. Our output isn't going to be the same. Even if we're home alone with nothing to do, it's really hard to find that space in the midst of this kind of craziness right now. So you're still taking those baby steps forward. You're still an artist. You might not be getting as far as you should, as you said, but you're getting as far as you can. And that's good.
It's accepting the difference that's proving hard, I guess.
Yeah, it is hard. That's our challenge. And, that's another one of the lessons that the virus is here to teach us. Life will limit us sometimes, and we have to learn how to handle that gracefully. And it's not always easy to accept. But letting go and just allowing and just showing up with your best intention and doing the best you can every day. And some days are great and other days are crap. But you show up again the next day. And that's what you're doing.
And that's what I'm trying to do anyway, because that's what's dealt, I guess. But I'm also I'm maybe a bit more introverted than I should be, because it really hasn't changed my day-to-day living all that much.
That's all right. A lot of artists are introverts. We're used to working alone. We're comfortable being alone. I find that artists aren't struggling so much with the solitude as much as others.
The only thing I miss is date nights out with the wife. Yeah, we have we can actually choose what movie's playing now, but
yeah.
It's not quite the same as going out for a good dinner or going to an opening somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's the only real difference as far as my livelihood goes. But thank you.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate it. Take care.
You too.
And I'm proud of you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Before I get to the next caller, I'm going to read one of my posted questions, okay? Leanne says that she's trying to build awareness for her art business. There are so many magazines, websites, and galleries asking for art submissions, but they all charge a fee. Should she be making this investment? Leanne, I think it depends on several factors. Who is the organization behind the call for submissions? Who will be seeing your work? Sometimes it's an investment just to get your stuff in front of a top curator or decision maker, because even if they don't choose you for this opportunity, you've now introduced your work to them, and if something comes up again, you and your work are on their radar. But I think it really comes down to investing wisely. What's the opportunity? Will sales come out of this? Who's the audience going to be? I understand how confusing it can feel to navigate all of these choices that exist out there, but you really do want to sit down and think about your work and where it fits, and also what it is you want in the long run. Don't feel pressured to apply for everything, but only those few things that really make sense. Do your research. That's the most important thing. Do your research. Ask other artists who've applied and won in the past. Ask them what their experience was, what came out of it for them. And once you have some clarity for yourself, I think it's going to be a lot more easier to make these kinds of decisions. Thanks for that question. Okay, I'm going to go to the next caller. Is it Mark? Mark.
Hi, Krishna.
Hi.
It's Mark. Hi. It's when we met in London a few weeks ago, or a few months ago now.
Several months ago, yeah.
Yes. You mentioned about doing the architectural drawings and continuing with those. Well, just to let you know, I'm having quite a bit of success for them at the moment.
Fantastic.
And it's the other thing that's happened. I've been speaking to a chap, and he said, "Well, why don't you put some of your artwork into a brochure, and then you can send those brochures out to people?" Because you're saying now there's loads of people at home. They still got money. They don't know what to do with themselves, and they're getting bored looking at the internet all the time. So you got a special brochure through the front door. And they said they get really excited, and they're just in the process of posting out a couple of hundred. So it's, thank you for persevering with me and giving me the ideas.
Fantastic. I'm so pleased that worked out for you.
There's times when I was getting a little bit bored drawing houses, but it got inspired and then my purpose rekindled after speaking with you.
Good.
Yes.
Oh, I love hearing about your success.
Okay. Well, thank you for your inspiration and your encouragement.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks, Mark.
Okay.
Take
Just
care.
Take care, and you keep safe as well.
All right, stay in touch.
Okay, bye for now. Bye.
Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Maryse again.
Hi, Maryse. How are you, Maryse? Good to hear from you.
Good. How are you?
Very well.
Good. I started this time at home wanting to do all the work that you set forth for us during your Masterclass, and I just find I'm having a really hard time with that because I'm more of a hands-on person, and sitting at the computer and archiving and all that kind of stuff, I'm having a tough time with. So I decided to put it aside, and I took to heart that first artist circle call where you asked what's our role or where's our place right now in this situation. And I decided, kids have been putting rainbows in windows and all sorts of stuff. So I decided to start an outdoor gallery from my balcony. Yeah, so I spent some time trying to figure out how to weatherproof, some frames, and they're just like cheap IKEA frames with a plexiglass front. And I'm not putting my artwork that I would sell. This is mostly I've been finding it's difficult to really focus on that kind of art. What I really feel like doing right now is just fun stuff, just enjoyable, quick drawings. And so I've turned to pastels, which I've never really done before, and I'm doing stuff that people, I'm hoping, are enjoying seeing as they go by. So that's basically how I took that. And learning the online stuff has been also very, well, not challenging, but my head just gets so filled with the possibilities and everything out there that I just kind of shut it down after a while. So I'm learning that a little bit, making videos of projects for kids that I usually teach through the Ottawa School of Art. So I've been keeping busy, but I find that in this time that the hands-on stuff to me feels more like I'm getting something done than you know, the online, like I've been wanting to set up for online sales and all that. I just thought that right now I would feel guilty selling stuff. Does that sound stupid?
Don't feel guilty for selling stuff. Don't feel guilty for making money during this time, because I did at first, and then, you know, someone told me, no, we need to keep the economy going. We need to, you know, we can't all just stop and freeze. We need to keep things moving. So don't feel guilty about that.
Yeah, because recently I saw, I'm part of an artist group on Facebook, and people have actually been selling really well online, and I thought, oh, did I miss the boat? Maybe I should have been concentrating on that instead. But I'm just finding I don't know. I guess it's that fear factor. I'm not sure how to go about like selling online. I guess I have watercolors that are, you know, in frames with glass and such, and I guess the shipping part and stuff is what kind of makes me nervous. So I haven't really looked into it. But anyways, just saying that your questions are really good. They give fodder, and thank you for putting them out there.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for your comments. I'm going to make a suggestion to you, though. You said you get overwhelmed when you try to do the organization stuff. And, you know, the organization stuff, I understand it's not nearly as much fun as making art. But I think it really is important. So what I'm going to suggest for you is if you could set a timer. Just set a timer. That's what I do for tasks that I hate. I set a timer sometimes for just I'll do 5 minutes a day, sometimes 20 minutes a day. But I'll just do a little bit every day. And then it does get done. It might take a lot longer, but it does get done. So maybe for some of those organizational tasks that I've asked you to do, you could just set a timer and do a little bit every day.
Okay. Yeah, and with some of them, there's taking one step forward and 3 steps back, and that I want to take better pictures of my work, which then means buying equipment to take those better pictures. I have the camera, but I need the lighting. So, but there's a delay on ordering stuff. So everything is just kind of
exactly.
There's a whole bunch of steps backwards as well. So
and it all goes under the timer. Okay, I've got half an hour today. I'm going to take my 3 steps back. But you know what? If you're going to sell art online, especially for watercolor, I find watercolors are really difficult to read on a screen. You want to have really good pictures. You want to make your work really pop as much as you can, make it come alive. That's what I'd say about selling online. Not all art translates on a screen. So that's a challenge for a lot of artists. Not everyone can sell online. So really good pictures are important.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Hi, who's this?
Yeah, hi. My name is Robin.
Hi, Robin.
I really love what you say because I was feeling guilty about not in the mood of going down to the shop and cutting stone. I'm just not in the mood.
Mhm.
And I decided to tackle this other project that I've been wanting to do since 2013 is to write a book.
Mhm.
And I always said when I'm in hibernation, I got to write these books. I woke up the other day and said, you know what? Hello, you're in hibernation.
Yeah.
So I decided that this is when I'm going to write the book. So I gave it about 3 days, and it's a long project, and this is my new mission. So I'm going to write my book, and I have to thank you because I was feeling guilty for not being able to go down to cut stone. I was just not in the mood.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, well, stop feeling guilty about not cutting stone. This book is important, and when it's finished, I'm going to be relieved. So.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not like you're the only one in hibernation. It's not like you're missing out on anything. You know, this is the time to do this.
Right, and I see, and I redid my website before this, and I'm in the process of making my Instagram into e-commerce and going to the website. I got somebody to do that. But I said, okay, I'll try to sell some less expensive stuff, but I'm not too optimistic because everybody around me doesn't have any money except for the food stores, you know.
Mhm.
But I figured I'm going to give it a try, but I'm really going to focus on this book. But I have to thank you because you made me not feel guilty.
Okay, good. Good. That makes me feel good.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good, definitely good. It made me not feel guilty. This is, Well,
I wish you all the best with your book.
Thank you.
And you've given me courage to get back to mine.
Well, this is something that's a very hard topic. Has nothing to do with, well, actually it does have something to do with art. It's how I did my art, how my art made me survive certain traumas in life.
Okay, very important topic.
Right, and one of them, it's a whole long story, but the ultimate end is how I lost a child, and he had a very hard life, and I'm going back in his history. I'm saying every trauma that I went through in his life, I did X piece.
Mhm.
So it's like a document. It's not like organizing my work on my inventory, but it's sort of like recategorizing all my work in a frame of a timeline.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. Very powerful.
It's a powerful book, and that's my mission for the next 2 months.
Okay.
So.
Good. I can't wait to hear how it goes. Take care.
If I get this book done, you'll hear about it. Trust me. Thank you.
Cool. When you get the book done.
Yes, exactly. Not if, when.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Take care, Robin.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to read another one of the posted questions. And if you want to talk to me, it's *6 on your dial pad. I think, Vanessa, I think I saw a message come through. I'm not reading the messages on the message board because I can't. But Vanessa, I thought I could hear you, actually. I could hear your keys typing. So if you want to raise your hand, I think we actually can hear each other. Anyway, Denise wrote that she was invited. This was an interesting question. She was invited to show in an exhibition in a prestigious space in Rio de Janeiro in April. But in March, she had to go into confinement and the exhibition was canceled. So now, with the uncertainty that plagues the world, Denise is questioning her role as an artist in these new times that we're going to be entering. And she wonders if this type of questioning seems reasonable. Are other artists going through the same dilemmas? And thank you for this question, Denise, because I think that I can say with some certainty that almost everyone is asking these kinds of questions. Like I said, no one knows what the future holds. But to my mind, I think it's unreasonable to assume an attitude of waiting for someone else to take the lead, to decide our fate. And I think it's even more unreasonable to quit because there's no clear path forward. I mean, look, we're artists. We create. We respond to the world around us and within us. There is no reason we cannot create our way out of this. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about the WPA, the Works Progress Administration. It was formed in the United States during the Great Depression. The U.S. government put artists to work for years. Yeah, that's right, you heard me right. The U.S. government put artists to work throughout the Depression. And that led to some of the biggest names in 20th century art. This is how they got their opportunity. I know that right now Germany is doing something kind of like this, and there's no reason that we can't each lobby for government support for the arts right now. By the way, calling your senators and your representatives and telling them the kind of help we need. But the world's changed since the 1930s. There are more art lovers now. There are more art buyers. There are more art opportunities than anyone back then could have ever imagined. So yes, it's normal to question, Denise, but it's not a time for artists to quietly fold up their canvas and call it a day. This is a time for us to create the new future the world is waiting for. And because we're artists, that future holds the potential of being more beautiful and more meaningful than the past we're leaving behind. So I really believe that this is a time for each of us to dig deep. Thanks for that question. I'm not seeing any raised hands. If anyone wants to ask me a question or has a comment, it's *6 on your dial pad. Otherwise, I'm going to read the next posted question. This is from Ilsa, who wrote that she studied fine arts and was a teacher for many years. Now she's retired and she doesn't believe that she can paint anymore. Ilsa, I know how that feels. I put my art aside to work as an arts dealer for a very, very, very long time. And by the time I realized that I wanted to change paths, I was afraid that it was too late, that I was too old. I mean, I hadn't made art in years. But what I learned is that it's never too late. As long as we are alive, we are vital creators. So I'm going to suggest that you give yourself an opportunity to play, to learn, to explore, to delight. Don't have any expectations except that you're going to make mistakes. But learn to laugh at them, because that means you're growing. So get back on that bike, Ilsa. The world needs more beauty right now. I see a raised hand. Let's see who we've got here. Is this Eileen?
Hello.
Hi, is this Eileen?
This is Eileen, yes.
Okay, cool. That's the name that popped up. How are you?
I wanted to thank you for some of your supportive comments that you're throwing out, because I have too been struggling with trying to get myself back into the studio and working. I do get overwhelmed with what's going on in the world. I'm a very compassionate person, so I feel so saddened by all the horrible things that are going on. And so it's kind of, it has frozen me up. There's no question about that. I've always been someone that's been very, let's just say, prolific in working. And this is kind of unusual for me to be taking so much time off. But some of the things that you've said has been, very encouraging for me to reevaluate my position right now. So I thank you for that.
Good.
Sure. Wanted to start that off with that. Earlier on, there was talking about that you had talked about, interacting with galleries, and and that whole idea of the snobbiness versus, trying to feel, people feeling uncomfortable about going into galleries and stuff. I was listening to it, and I was really, I have had the opportunity. I am in galleries, so I have the opportunity to be in these places, and I'm very grateful for that. I just think it's a double-edged sword, in the comment. I think that for me, there's a motivation and a drive to get into these places, despite the feeling of, the snobbiness that you were talking about. Because I think as a double-edged sword, what I was referring to is that once you're in these places, it's kind of nice to know that these people feel the way they do about you, and that they're trying to keep you selective as opposed to just anybody coming in. I don't know. I'm not trying to sound like a snob here, but I'm just saying.
No.
For me, it was always a drive and ambition to say, okay, these are my goals. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work really hard to make that happen. And, I just think the value of it is the fact that once you get accepted and embraced, you just go, yeah, that hard work paid off. This is what I wanted. I can't say
and you've earned
necessarily
it,
that,
right?
Right, and I've earned it, and I appreciate the fact that there's someone on the other side representing my work and giving me the respect that I, have worked hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's why I said, when I heard that earlier, I was just like, it is a double-edged sword. I go into these places and I go, yeah, and I still walk into galleries and they don't give you the right time of day. There's no question about that. But again, I think it's their fault. I also think it's their fault for assuming that people that walk in with jeans and a T-shirt don't have the money to buy art. I think it's really to their detriment.
Yes, definitely.
Because I think sizing someone up based on what they look like when they walk in is foolish on their part because you just never know who walks in a gallery to buy.
Absolutely. And I've exhibited at art fairs and, sold tons of work to the shabbiest looking people. And it really taught me you never judge a customer by what you see in front of you. You just never, ever know.
No, I totally agree with that. There's no stereotype person that's going to come in and buy work.
Right.
In fact, in my experience, I've had people that were the most unlikely people that would end up buying some, somewhat relatively provocative work, and you just go, really? Okay. You just never know what people are going to gravitate to. But anyway, so I'm still continuing to listen to your support to get back into the studio and to create work. I do, I just feel stymied because of the fact that I'm just feeling like these galleries are closed right now and they're not doing, a lot of things. I know there's an online presence, but some of them just don't go that route. And it's not the motivator. I just feel like, okay, I'm going to be doing this work and stockpiling. And I'm like, okay, and I think that's what's holding me up.
Well, I'm going to offer you a small suggestion, and you can take it or leave it. But you said you were saddened by the horrible things that you're seeing, and I think we all are. It's really overwhelming. But maybe I can challenge you to look for something beautiful or for a piece of good news every day. It's kind of like your little gratitude journal, but just look for something beautiful, look for something happy, look for, because there are all kinds of like really heartwarming stories happening too. And maybe if we can search through all that rubble of all the bad stuff that we're seeing and all the doom and gloom and try to find those pieces of light and beauty, that can help lead us out of this.
Well, I hope so. I mean, it's still all positive thoughts. For sure. Yeah. It's where we choose to place our attention right now. Right now, the horrible things are making the most noise, but the beautiful things are still there. Oh, I totally agree with that. And I'm getting more people when I'm listening to some of the people talk about it. I'm getting a lot of that feeling that there's people out there still, moving forward and seeing the beauty in the world. There you go. Mhm. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Eileen. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Great talking to you. Thank you. Okay, it's *6 if you want to raise your hand and chat. Otherwise, I'm going to read another online comment. Dua, I hope I said that right, Dua, writes, I am a painter who has a lack of understanding about marketing, and this is a problem. I get that. And that's a great question, Dua, because my job is about creating a solution to that problem. So I'm going to invite you to listen until the end of this call because I'm going to be telling you about an opportunity to learn about marketing and creating new avenues to sell your work through the Working Artist Masterclass. That's my little plug right there, but Dua gave me the opportunity. Now, Fada asked about how a refugee or immigrant artist can deal with discrimination and boundaries in a host country. And that's a great question. When I was working as an arts dealer, one of my specialties, the areas I specialized in, was underrepresented artists. I'm talking about artists of color, Hispanic artists, Asian artists, and even women, because let's face it, galleries and museums are full of white men. And I don't have anything against white men. Some of my best friends are white men. But there's not been a lot of room for other voices in the canon. I worked to change that, and I specifically targeted museum collections and introduced them to some of these artists who were not on their radar. And I found that the art world was open to including these different voices.
As an artist, your strength is your difference. Art isn't about blending in. It's about standing out. So if you're an immigrant or refugee, you have a unique story to share in a way that's different from the status quo. You can choose to look at that as your weakness, and that's what it will become. Or you can choose to use your work to educate people, and then your difference becomes your strength. Thank you for that question, Farah. Manuel writes that he's looking for guidance about using social media. Okay, good question. I've always promoted the working artist through social media. I write short stories and essays about being an artist, and I use my photographs or videos to accompany my words. And too many times when I'm on social media, I see artists post their images with just a title and a price. They're not engaging with their audience. They're not teaching their audience how to see their work. If I had simply posted a syllabus of the working artist, interest wouldn't have built. People wouldn't have signed up for the course. But instead, I freely shared stories about my journey in the art world and the stories of other artists. And I wrote about the lessons that I've learned. I shared resources. And this is how you can build an audience for your work, too, on social media. Think about what your work is about, be it subject matter, style, or technique. What's the golden thread that ties your work together? Post about that. By teaching and showing and sharing posts that engage your audience, something that you're passionate about, you build a relationship of trust with your audience. And when you do share your work, they'll be more educated as to how to see it. And then people will be more drawn to your posts and to your work. So thanks for putting that question out there, Manuel. All right, star 6 if you've got a question for me. All right, I'm not really able to, but I do see a question here from Vanessa that I'm not really able to handle the text questions, but Vanessa's is on my screen, so I'm going to read it. Is there a way for working artists to connect together? Is there a place? We do monthly coaching calls like this. Every month the people who've taken the working artist can jump on a call with me and I answer questions. So that's how we meet virtually. And when I traveled a lot before all of this, a lot of times if I go to a city like London where I met Mark for a coffee, I'll send out an email, anyone in London, come meet me for a coffee, or I've done it in Seattle, Chicago, New York, Phoenix, Paris. So we try to get together that way too because, you know, the online world is great, but I think we have all learned now it is no replacement for face-to-face, is it? And I think after this, I think we're all going to be craving more face-to-face connections, real-life connections. So thanks for that question, Vanessa. All right, so here's another posted question. Nova said, thank you for putting together this call and for your great course, The Working Artist. Oh, you are most welcome, Nova. Thank you. Okay, so Nova's question is about, let's see, the pros and cons of naming your studio something other than your actual name. Nova's been calling her studio Studio Nova. Okay, I like that. I like Studio Nova as a name. You know, I don't have any problems with someone using their studio name instead of their name, but it has to be consistent. You have to be married to that name. Otherwise, it gets too confusing. That's why I don't think it's a good idea if you name your studio after your address, because sometimes we have to move, and then we have to change our name, and then it just gets very confusing. And the other thing to keep in mind is the name should be simple to remember, like Studio Nova, not Studio an onomatopoeia or something else that no one can spell. So I think you should keep doing what you're doing, Nova. I think it's wonderful. Adrian asked, how should she get her art noticed by art galleries? There are actually a lot of ways to get on a gallery's radar, and I'm not going to get too deep into them here, but I'm going to suggest that you join the gallery's community and you support them as much as you can. So right now, especially, that means following them on social media and making comments. When the isolation orders end, it means showing up to their events and getting on their mailing list. Basically, what I'm trying to suggest is that you support the organizations that you want support from. Give before you ask. Build relationships. This is one of the strongest ways that you can get noticed by a gallery. Thank you for that question, Adrian. Okay, worried about how the pandemic is going to affect the gallery world, which is a great question, Lyric, and I don't have a definitive answer for that. However, I do know that when I had a gallery, we survived 9/11 and several other very big recessions that everyone predicted would be the end of us. And then when online galleries started, everyone also predicted that would be the end of us. And when the 2008 crash hit, everybody predicted that would be the end of us. But it wasn't. I mean, some galleries closed, yes, but others opened, and more opportunities for artists opened as well. So as a community, I suggest let's keep moving forward, keeping the faith, but also keeping an open mind. And that's the best any of us can do right now. Lyric also wrote that she was advised not to put her prices on her website. And she wonders what I thought about that. And I don't know that I believe there's a right answer and a wrong answer about that. I can only speak about myself. I know that if I'm looking on a website at some work and I don't see a price, I usually, because the world is so fast now, I usually can't be bothered to ask. I just move on to the next thing. Personally, I've always been very transparent about prices. I don't see a downside of publishing them unless, here's the downside of publishing them. If you have a gallery that wants to represent you exclusively, that would make sense that you don't have your prices because you don't want people to buy from your website. But that's the only good reason I can think of for not publishing your prices. And it goes back to that snootiness thing, too, what we were talking about earlier with galleries. Sometimes galleries, you walk into a gallery and it's price upon request. And people get too embarrassed to ask. You know, you get scared. I really like this piece. I could afford it if it was $500, but if it's $5,000 or $50,000, you know, you just don't know. And I just don't really understand the psychology behind that, quite frankly. So I encourage you to publish your prices if you're on the fence about it. But if you have a reason not to, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, any more raised hands out there? *6 on your dial pad. All right then. I want to thank you so much. Before you go, I want to talk to you about the Working Artist Masterclass. A lot of you have told me that you want to take the course, but finances are a challenge right now. I totally get it. So for the next few days until Wednesday the 13th, I have slashed the fee of the Working Artist from $444 to just $177. And if it helps, there's a payment plan too. And I really hope it makes it easier for you if this is something you're considering, because I would love to help you plant those seeds for your next chapter. Go to the website at theworkingartist.com if you want to join me. And I'm going to be sending out some emails about the sale. And of course, if you have any questions, please just send me an email and I'll be happy to respond. Thanks again for being here. I really, really appreciate you. I appreciate this community so much. I want you to take care of yourself. I send each of you lots of love. Be well.